Perfect. So anyway, this is what every Wednesday is going to be about, and it's I started to call it Soulful, FUL. That wasn't good enough, and then I said, wait a minute, let's look at this. What this is all about is having a full soul, and you don't come here on Wednesdays to get your soul full. You already come with a full soul, and this is one of the emphases that for those of you that are participating on these calls. Is that this is what this message is all about. You are already full. We just don't know it. And it's the whole idea of mastering your business by examining and mastering the self. I will guide us to the spiritual side of success and how to find your soul's purpose and reservoir in order to fuel our life and our life's work. And then, last week we did the philosophy of success. As Socrates said, the unexamined life is not worth living. And I put this down, Socrates' quote, his philosophy cost him his life. He was put on trial for that quote. Well, not that quote, but that belief. And basically that was his whole philosophy, is that you must have your life examined by yourself. If not, it's not worth living. And he got the younger generation of his time to start thinking outside of the political situation, the spiritual situation, and started questioning the social situations. And he was put on trial and he was sentenced to death for it. He was made to drink poison. Well, I've come to a point in my life, and I believe with my entire being, not practicing this philosophy will cost you your life, will cost me my life. And this is all about self-examination. Every day, every hour, you want to examine every thought, because, that's what is holding us back. And so these Soulful Wednesdays, what I want to accomplish every Wednesday is I want to raise the level of thinking of all of us, and that we never become satisfied with our thinking, and especially that thinking that tells us that we're not good enough, or that thinking that tells us there's something missing, that thinking that says, there's something blank with this. And usually we finish that statement with, there's something wrong with this, or there's something wrong with me. As soon as we have a dispute with someone, especially a loved one or maybe somebody else, we go, there's something wrong with them. And if we can just change that one word, wrong, into right, our lives will reflect that. Because there's something right with them. There's something right with that. There's something right with life. There's something right with God. There's something right with my spouse. There's something right with my partner. And keep looking for the right, because if there's wrong, there's right. So the whole idea of these Soulful Wednesdays is not to give you something you don't already have. It's to take off all the stuff that we've gathered all our lives that just leave that reservoir that's inside of all of us, that deep-seated value that we came here with, and that deep-seated love that we came here with, and that we'll return to eventually, and to uncover that. So that's what I want Wednesdays to be all about, is to raise our level of thinking. The other thing is to get out of your own way. I'm so appreciative of a mentor that used to remind me all the time, if you ever used them, if you ever heard anyone say, if he heard anyone say, how you doing? If they would say, under the circumstances, his automatic response was, how the hell did you get underneath of them in the first place? So these Wednesdays are designed to get you out of your own way. There's only one person in your way, and that's yourself. That is yourself. The other part of the other purpose of the Wednesdays is to defeat your one and only enemy, and that is yourself. In the mornings when you're getting ready and you look at yourself, just have a quick little chat with yourself and say, hey, are you my friend today, or you're my enemy? And that decision's up to you. You can make yourself your greatest friend, your greatest fan, or you can make yourself your greatest enemy. All of us experience. We experience it all the time. Sometimes the first thought in our mind when we wake up is a negative thought, or it's a defeating thought. And this is the whole idea of the Soulful Wednesday, is to remind us to raise our level of thinking, and to where we do not negotiate with our mind, that we do not negotiate with ourselves. You are good enough. You are good enough. We have to defeat that enemy, the ego, so that the soul shines forth and that we are full. And then that starts overflowing because all this stuff we put on top of it, all the stuff we put on top of that and all these thoughts, there's no way that anything can come out. It can come and flow through you. We've talked about this many times. We never see things the way they are. We see things the way we are. And we've got to remind ourselves that life is a blank sheet of paper. A lot of the stuff most of the stuff we see are illusions, right? And we never see things the way they are. We see things the way we are. My sister, who I just came back, and I have three of the greatest sisters that anybody could have. My one turned 70 last year, and I have two twins. They're only a year apart from Shirley, and they turned 70 in January. All their birthdays in January, so they got together in San Francisco to celebrate because Shirley, who was very healthy 70-year-old, was diagnosed with pancreatic cancer about in July, and so anyway, they had this big event out there, and I went out to surprise them, and what a great time. And my sister Shirley, and I've always said this, and people in my family know it, and many people around me know it. I always say, if you're 50 years old and you're kind of in a negative state, I always say 51 years ago, let me ask you a question. Was this a concern of yours? And then I finish it up by saying 51 years from today, do you think it's going to be a concern of yours? So, we always chat about that, but my sister, and we have some great talks about, the vulnerability of the body and, her diagnosis and stuff. And so she always says it. Now she's saying 72 years ago, 72 years. And then she kind of pokes fun at me, and she says, stop it. So, but anyway, we don't see things the way they are. We see things the way we are. Life is not happening to us, it's happening for us. Many of you are on this call. If we had, and we'll, hopefully maybe you'll share that. When we open this up, I really want you to jot down little thoughts that come to your mind. Say, hey, if we have an opportunity to share, I'm going to share this. But there's many of you on this call that you've overcome great obstacles in your life. And when you look back on it, especially if they're more than 10 years ago, you think, what was the big deal? Why did I make such a big deal out of that? So this statement is very powerful. We never see things the way they are. We see things the way that we are. So every Wednesday, we want to, this is our challenge every Wednesday. And truly, who would you be if you did not know who you were? I keep asking us that question. I ask myself that every day. And then what would you create or accomplish in 2021 if you knew success was guaranteed? You could not fail. You could not fail. And, one of my mentors, used to say, hey, if I handed you a listing agreement already filled out and signed, and I asked you to go get a seller's signature on it, and you could have the listing, would you go to the appointment? And everyone says, yes, of course. Then he says, well, let me ask you a question. Just because you don't have something signed yet and it's not done, why don't you go down on the appointment and ask them for it? So this whole idea is that success is guaranteed. George's statement, George, you say it better than anybody else. Time, finish that statement. Time
on task over time.
Time on task over time. Success is guaranteed. If you do something long enough and consistent enough, it pays off. So we need to really dig deep because we have a full soul. We came here with a full soul. And, many of you have heard this statement before, a little bit different. We are not human beings having a spiritual experience. We are spiritual beings experiencing humanity and here to light it up. Just think about that for a moment. We are not human beings having a spiritual experience. We're spiritual beings experiencing humanity and here to light it up. On this call today, if you want to admit it, who is the oldest individual? I'm 67. Who is older than 67? I think we have a few.
Fred, nobody's older than you.
Okay. Thank you, Jonathan. I appreciate that.
I love you, Fred. I'm just teasing.
I think there's another one. I think maybe. No? Good. All right. I'll take that honor.
But isn't Phil Unger like a day older than Dirt?
That's what I'm thinking. Anyway, when you think about it, even if there was someone to call 80, man, when you look at how fast, if you're 40 years old, how fast that went out, if you're 50, if you're 60. So it's not about our humanity. It's not about our time limit. And we've gone through that before on the chart, which I'm going to go and remind us, because what I did, and I'm working on putting all the YouTube links, I'm converting all the videos to YouTube, because you'll see that this document's like 29 pages. We're not doing that all this morning. Trust me, this is from the last 3 or 4 times that we shared together, because I want to have a running record of these so we can keep going back and reminding ourselves. Because let me tell you why. And you may be saying, Fred, I've heard some of this before. It sounds like a little bit like a repeat. Yes, it is. And it's going to be a lot, because I'll tell you why. You cannot undo, if you're 50 years old, you cannot undo 50 years of some of the negative input that we've received in a couple sessions. You can't change that thinking. That's why we need to constantly remind ourselves. And where I want to go with this is every week, every Wednesday, is again not to fill you up with anything. You've got everything you need, but to uncover that. So do you see that phone number on the screen? That's my cell number. I want you to text me. If you're driving, don't do this. I don't want to be responsible for an accident. I want you to text me. It's January the 13th, 13 days into the new year. Or if you want to keep it general, your life in general. On a scale of 1 to 10, the total satisfaction with where you are, what you've accomplished in life, your feelings of significance, on a scale of 1 to 10, whether you want to use just the first 13 days of 21 or your entire life, on a scale of 1 to 10, where would you rank yourself? 10 being the optimal, and 1 being, you're just got a real far way to go. So go ahead, start texting me that number. Keep going. Any scale you want to use. Okay. Okay, keep going. Okay. 5. There's a 10. I love it. 6, 7, 7, 5, 2.5, 6, less than 5, 4, 7. Keep going. Sounds like Bitcoin, John. 6, 7, 7. Come on, there's more on the call. Keep going. 5. 1 more, 2 more. Come on, do it. 7, 6. Okay, fantastic. If you remember, one of the sessions we had is that we 5, 4, 6, 7, 8. Very good. Let me turn it off in case there's more dings coming in. Now, if I ask you to redo that, and if I said the test is perfect peace, and you had to rate yourself on this, and no fear, would your rating change? Because this is the real test in life. This is the real test if you are experiencing that full soul that you came here with, that full soul and that soul full of love, but it's been so squashed down and buried. Remember the idea of the heart, which we're going to just review quickly again. So this is the real test. So if you were to look at your number, what would it be? There's a Jewish scripture, the psalmist, which is King David. King David is an interesting fellow. He says, "Why are you downcast, O my soul? Why so disturbed in me?" Now, I'm very sensitive to people's spirituality, because there's some people that don't use the word God. They'll use life. They'll use universe. They'll use, power, whatever you're comfortable using. But David, in the Jewish scriptures, he says, why are you downcast? And he says this a lot. And he talks this way a lot. Why are you downcast, oh my soul? Why are you so disturbed within me? And some of you at the 3 and the 5 and even the 6 and the 7, maybe that applies to you. Because then it finishes up. It says, trust in God, for he is still there, right? And this whole idea that it's bigger than us. So why are you so downcast, oh my soul? Why so disturbed in me? And there's no way you can master a business if you're going around with feelings of futility, feelings of inferiority. If you're going around, I'm just not good enough. I'm just not good enough. And that's something that's haunted every single one of us. It cost me, without realizing it was there, because I thought I examined my life a lot, and I didn't. And it cost me, 6, 7 years ago, it cost me, 40 years worth of work, because I didn't think yet I was good enough, and I had a whole lot more to prove. And so, so we can't master a business if we do not realize how full our soul is and how to tap that reservoir. And that same King David, right? He's the same guy. It says, what is man? He was talking to God. He says, what is man that you are mindful of him? You've made him just a little lower than the angels. So if we're just a little lower than the angels, our success is got to be guaranteed. It's got to be guaranteed if we're a little lower than the angels. Well, the problem is that even though we're created a little lower than the angels, we've had hell dumped all over us a lot of times, and we had this illusion that it was hell, or we had this illusion that there's something wrong with us because our heart has been so picked at, or our soul has been so picked at so many times during our lives. So how do we get beyond that? And the way we get beyond that is that we stop tearing down our little towers that we built. I did a 9-minute message on where was heaven on 9/11 to a Chamber of Commerce in Tennessee when I owned a hotel up there. And I have the YouTube link here. I'm not going to take time to play it now. These are going to start going out once I get my other YouTube links up here from the other sessions. I'm going to send this out to everyone, because if you're a guest on here today and we don't have your email, my email's right here. Don't text me, please, because then I have to get it and send it to my email. Email me your email, and everybody that wants this running these running sessions of Soulful Wednesdays, and you're going to be on that list that you get an update every week. And then, of course, we'll post it on the GPS and all. But where was heaven on 9/11? And then for some of you that are at a 3 level, or so it's a couple, or one said 2.5, and some 4s and the 5s, where's heaven? Where's heaven in your life? It's within. The kingdom of God is within. Where is heaven? It's in there. It's your soul is full. Now, how can we get that out? And how can we make that where you are a little less than the angels, and that your life will reflect that? And the way we tear down the towers is we keep judging ourselves. We judge the little bit of progress we make, and it's not good enough when you compare it to, when George gets on and he starts showing his database. It's like I look at it, I go, oh my gosh, I got so far to go. But I don't do that anymore. I don't compare myself. I go, wow, that's a great role model. I feel so good where I am. But so many times we tear down our little towers, right? And then we tear down bigger towers, or we're tearing down other people's towers by our judgment and the way that we live life. Going back to last week's presentation, it was like a fire hose where we talked about these things. So what I want to do is go back and take some of these from last week, because on Friday, Tom finished up early because he was in the car. And the ones of you that were on the call, we got into the actual goal setting and, how you convert this to the productivity side and accomplishment and success. And the goal, let me just stop sharing for a second. The goal here is to change this view. The goal here on these Wednesdays, can you see this? Can you see that or no? Someone speak up.
Yes.
It's, here's the goal. Oh. Here's the goal. Okay. The goal here is the way that we walk around without a full soul is because this is the way we've been taught to live. We get all the information from here, or we try to find our purpose here, right? And we came here. This was reversed. When you came out of the womb, this was reversed. This was the spirit here because you came with a spirit of love. You came from love. You're going back to love. And eventually, after time, you have to have these defense mechanisms up to protect these two. So this then gets dominant. And then when we're not figuring it, we can't figure out what's going on in here with our mind, our will, and our emotions. And with all these crazy thoughts, then we try to start satisfying ourselves here. That's why we drink. That's why we eat. That's why we get in bad relationships, because we're trying to figure out and find purpose. How many of you have a challenge with a relationship already this year? I know there's 3 of you on here. I know there's 3 because we've been doing a lot of talking. There's a whole lot of us, right? But what happens is that the goal of these Wednesdays is to get this spirit part to be out here again. So where we operate in perfect peace and no fear in our lives. So this is the spirit, then the soul, and then the body here is that this controls the body instead of the body and relationships and outside forces controlling us, which that's the way we've been taught to live. And there you go. So that's the goal of the Wednesdays. So let's go back here and I want to go back to where we were last week and talk about some of these things specifically. And then I want to make sure we have enough time to open it up to everyone. And again, philosophy is the love of wisdom. We talked about this yesterday. You don't sell anything. You open long-term relationships. And a person coming from a full soul, it's a little bit more natural that all they do is open long-term relationships, because the decision of any buyer is always based upon the quality of the seller, the person bringing the product or service, and that's us. So we work on ourselves to become more valuable. That's why I want to keep these running total so you can go back and rewatch these. This was the Jim Rohn clip. Well, this is a whole 40-minute seminar by him, how you work on yourself to become more valuable. And then we talked about that last week, but let me get down to and then this crash course in philosophy. That's why I want to do this, so I can get it out to everybody, and then you can watch these. Remember the ketchup cup last week, right? That, the ketchup cup was made, and a lot of people don't realize it. You pull it out, and those little creases, it increases the capacity of the cup. And let's get this is one of the things. The body wants to interpret success as possessions. My car is prettier than your car. I have the best. I have the shiniest. I have the most expensive. That the body does. The soul, not that someone doesn't drive a really nice car, but that's not where the value is. So what success is not, and see, we always have conflict in our souls. That, I kind of envision I could do so much more, but then we go, well, is that too worldly or whatever. But, when you operate from soul versus the ego, none of that matters, is because you've all read or heard about or practiced, some of you, The Secret. This whole idea of The Secret, that all this stuff starts flowing because you start living this way from the soul and not just the body. So what performance and success is not, we have to understand that first. It's not the position, the possession, position, power, or the pleasure. How many of you have gone the route of pleasure sometimes in your life and come up short? How many of you have tried to take power and come up short? So it's all about that perfect peace and no fear living is what real success is all about. And then success is all about failures and setbacks. Is that success is the artful management of failures and setbacks. Because that's not what's holding us back, because we can just artfully manage them. And the way we artfully manage them is that if your soul is so full, a lot of times, most of those are solved with a bunch of love sprinkled on them and understanding and being at peace. And like I said, 20 years ago, sometimes these magnificent problems we thought we had, when we look back on them, we went, what was the big deal? Wow, it wasn't what I thought it was. So, we artfully manage our failures and setbacks to protect that full soul that we have, so that reservoir is always flowing. We talked just briefly last week about dissolving 6 types of setbacks, because you can never solve a problem. They're not there to be solved. They're there to be dissolved. And all these different situations that we deal with is to produce eustress. We got to be like a watch wound up perfectly tight so it keeps time. So all these things, problems and setbacks are not, it's not for self-pity. And yet most of us, myself included, when things go wrong, when the stock market goes the opposite way, when someone says a certain thing, when someone didn't show the appreciation, there comes the self-pity. Well, a full soul will go, let me see here. I'm going to use this for self-propulsion. I'm going to use this for self-preservation. Maybe did I waste my time there? Next time I won't do that, because I want to preserve that. And it's almost like being a diamond. You always want to be the diamond. Allow things to chip away at you. Allow comments to be made. Allow remarks to be made. Anytime you're around family. Around my sisters, that we love each other dearly, but there was one comment that one of them made about something that, long story, I did 4 or 5 years ago, I thought was real genuine, and it was almost like a criticism. Well, that little went in there, and I went, wait a minute. I never see things the way they are. I see things the way I am. So I never made a comment about the comment. I went right away, my mind went to, I'm not seeing things the way they are. I'm seeing things the way I am. And I went, that's interesting. And I took it. And I came out a little bit brighter from that one comment. And that same comment tried to come up 3 or 4 times later that day. And even the next day, when I was getting on the plane, it tried to creep in. And I just polished a diamond with it. And last week, to refresh, we talked about our real problem, this idea that we're inferior. Remember, I said, I don't go to football games because every time they get into a huddle, I think they're talking about me. Remember, I said, that's a joke. But sometimes people have that. We have those issues, right? So we talked about how to overcome that. And that is the 4 R's. Realize you're unique, that the blueprint was thrown away, respond versus react correctly to weakness and weak points, refuse to compare yourself to anyone, and remember and respect the process that was going on. Now, let me go down here where we're going to end up today, because this is important that we put the meat on the bones. If one advances confidently in the direction of his dream and endeavors to live the life which he has imagined, he will meet with success unexpected in common hours. He will put some things behind, will pass an invisible boundary. New, universal, and more liberal laws will begin to establish themselves around and within him. Or the old laws be expanded and interpreted in his favor. I looked away and I lost my expanded and interpreted in his favor in a more liberal sense. This is where I'm saying, where you start getting that perfect peace about everything and anything in your life, and you start experiencing no fear, anything and everything in your life. And you may say, Fred, come on, is it really possible to live that way? No. But it's possible to keep moving in that direction. It's possible to keep moving in that direction. Something came up yesterday. I got some news, and I right away I went, oh, and I went, wait a minute. There's something good about this. I'm going to figure this out. So you just keep moving in that direction. And he will live with license of a higher order of beings. And that was by David Thoreau. So we talked about the 4 magic words. Everything starts with a thought. If you have a thought about 2021 and your goals here, now we need to help you with the action. George, between Monday and Tuesday this week, and what Tom's going to do on Friday, boy, you're going to have plenty of action steps. Now you just have to keep doing it until you make it a habit, and then success becomes the character. Time is no respecter of person. Here's where I want to end up. On Friday, we had time to spend some time on this. Your real goals for 2021. How many of you already for 2021 is 13 days into it? You got off schedule already with your physical goal. Anybody? You missed when you said I'm not going to miss 13 days already. Our resolutions are starting to look like, well, maybe not that one, right? So how can we make these goals in these areas? Because you have to have these goals and keep them simple. On Friday, we accomplished a lot with many of you. And I said, keep it simple at first, but you got to have at least one or two in each area. So this, I do want you to write down, and you're going to get this once I finish up the video links and all, but write this down quickly. Physical. This little YouTube link here is, and you can look it up. It's Dr. Zach Bush, B-U-S-H, Dr. Zach Bush. It's a 4-minute workout that is revolutionizing people's bodies. 4-minute workout. And it all has everything. It's amazing. It's amazing. Do this 2 times a day. It could be that simple as to say, I will do this 2 times a day, 5 days a week. If you can't make it to the gym, but you don't, to be candid, I haven't stepped foot in the gym in, I don't know how many years. My living room is my gym. YouTube is my gym. I have 3 apps that are my gym. This thing I picked up about a month and a half ago has just been phenomenal for me. You got to look at that. So your physical area, please set some goals. Now keep in mind, last week, this is important. When you're goal setting, it's about dreams. You got to set a date, 12/31/2021. You're sitting with your significant other, you're sitting with your best friend, or you're sitting with me or your mentor, you're sitting with your loved one, whoever you're sitting with that you've shared your goals with, and you're going, look at this. The 7 focus areas that we've all talked about. I said, here's how I will be feeling. So this has got to be in the first person. My physical goals are very simple. I weigh my fighting weight, which has always been for me 158 to 167. I weigh this. I feel fantastic. That's a goal. On 12/31/21, I want to be saying that. I'm able to do 35 push-ups, about half my age, right? With at one time, and able to do 2 or 3 steps, able to do 15 pull-ups. I mean, that doesn't sound like a lot. How many of you have done pull-ups lately, right? I'm able to do it, and it's all in the first person. In other words, it's like it's already done. It's my wish. It's my desire. That's what goal setting is. It's living life in advance. And you got to keep this in mind. Time is not an issue. You can always find 4 minutes a day times 2. Money is not an issue. Money flows to good ideas. Circumstances are not an issue. We've talked about that. You artfully manage your circumstances, and they're not an issue for goals. They're not. What would you achieve if you knew you couldn't fail? So under the mental goals, what are your mental goals? I always like what Zig Ziglar used to call the automobile, the car. It's a rolling university. Maybe your simple goal is you start commuting how much time you start calculating how much time you spend in your car, and you're going to go, oh my goodness, remember it's 12/31/2021, I spent 101 hours on personal development in 2021. Because every time you get in your car, please do not listen to the news. Please do not listen to NPR. Please do not listen to anything that's not going to keep reminding you that your soul is already full, and how do you get it out? Tony Robbins, Unleash the Power Within. I was talking with someone yesterday. I said, hey, just having a question, because they had to travel to see me. I said, what'd you listen to on the way down? And they said NPR. And I said, NPR. I said, do me a favor, on the way back, listen to Tony Robbins. They got home and they text me. It was exactly the same time that they spent in the car getting home. They said, wow, thank you so much. So little things, folks, your goals are so, you can't fail. So you make sure you dream here. Time, money, and circumstances are not an issue for goals. Live in advance, 12/31/21. Only work on a year right now. Your mental rolling university is your car. How many books are you going to read? right? That's a mental goal. Spiritually, I'm going to get back involved with this, my church. I've never read the Bible. I'm going to do that. I'm going to get back into my synagogue. I'm going to study, maybe if you're of a certain religious influence, but you've never followed it from your parents, you're going to go, I'm going to go back and see what that was all about, whatever it may be. I had a goal to read the Quran, and I've studied the Quran and read the entire thing and studied it. That was 1 year a goal of mine spiritually. Family, something very simple. Think ahead of time. You're sitting 12/31/2021. Wow, I spent that 6 weeks in that Tennessee cabin. 3 of it was personal weeks where no one was allowed to be there. I opened the other 3 weeks, and remember when Joe came down and his family and the kids came over for 5 days, and whatever your goal is in family, and a lot of that will cover your social, because my goal on have an open house at a special place designation, it also covers my social goal because some of my best friends are invited. Your career goal and your financial goal, they overlap sometimes. So dream, 12/31/21, 12/31/21. So this is what Soulful Wednesday is going to be all about. It's going to be reminding us that we really are full, and I want to practice these things to help you practice all these so we can, when we're sitting here, I can't wait. What day does 12/31/21 fall on, folks? 12/31/21. I'm going to set the date right now. Let's see, 12/30. It's on a Friday. All right, so that Wednesday, the 29th, I'm going to use the 29th. This is going to be our main focus on the 29th. We're going to say, okay, everyone share what you had on your goal sheet. Please, if they're not in writing, you're never going to be able to accomplish them. So this is what Wednesdays are all about. And with that, I will end there. And by the way, these are all the meetings that we've had that we're going to, I know I'm making you dizzy doing this. Some of you may be falling asleep going through all this. This is the ego versus the soul that we've gone through many times. So I'm going to, by the way, the Aspire book, I have a discount code for anybody. Aspire Fred is 10% discount. We've talked a lot about that. If you're a guest, this will be on your copy of this that you get. So we talked about the ATV. So I'm excited about getting this into a running thing and then I'm going to do some videos with some of you and put these on here as well that we could share with the group. So with that, let me stop the share and let's have some open time here. Maybe if you want to share some goals you set just now, or if you were on Friday's call, what goals that you did, if you went back and worked on that to keep it simple and dream about 12/31/21.